Hi folks, my name is Colin Fraser. I'm the designer of the Adama template. Thanks for purchasing. And today I wanted to take you on a quick, hopefully quick, video tour of the Adama's homepage and just share some of the things that I do when I first build a site. I do a lot of custom builds for customers, and I have a process that I use. Maybe you have your own process. I mean, by all means, you can tackle this in any way, shape, or form that you want to. I'm just going to share with you some of the things that I do when I first start building a site. And the first thing I do is I preview a page in my browser and I keep that page open. So that way I can quickly refresh it to see how the changes progress. So the next step after that is the first page I'm going to be updating is the index page. So what I want to do is, because the index page has so many different pieces to it, we have a slider, we have a section with 3 columns with 3 boxes, a section with a mobile phone and different bits of content coming in. We have a portfolio section. That's what the home pages are. They're like one-page landing pages, content divided into different sections. Different sections have different components or different functions and features. You probably won't be using all of those. Some people do, some people don't. But what I do is, at this point, I'm not sure which features I'm going to be using and which ones I'm going to be removing. So the first thing I do is I make a copy of my index page. I just copy and I paste on my keyboard here, and I take this copy here and I'm going to just put it into the pages folder so I have a backup. So at any point in time in the future, if I want to go back to the original index page, I have a copy of it. I can just move it back into the root folder when I need to do that. So that's sort of the first steps that I go through. Now the next thing I do, the very next thing I do is I plan on which pages I'm going to need for my site. So you may already know, because you have an existing site, which pages you want to have in your site, or if this is a brand new site, you can just create a new file. You can just create a brand new HTML page, blank one like so, and just write down or type out, brainstorm what pages you think you're going to need. You'll need a home page, and that will be the index. And after that, it's okay, so what else do you need? Well, contact page for most people. Sitemap page is good for helping with search, right? And then if you have products or services, you can really start to fine-tune things. You can have a certain type of product page, and maybe you want to have a main catalog page, and in that catalog page, link to your different products. So you may have product pages, and you may need to create 5, 10, 15 different variations of product pages for your site, and the list goes on. But once you have a list created or typed out, and this is very flexible, it'll change, trust me, they always do, but at least once you have a list created, then what I do is I go and I preview each single page in my site. I'll select the About page, for example. I'll pop it open in a browser like so. I'll take a look at what type of content it has, what sort of components it has, and would this be a page based on my storyboard that I could use, or is it just got stuff in there that isn't going to work for my purposes? If it's one of those things where you're like, no, I don't think I can really put this to use, I need a very simple page for the About Us, well, guess what? You can take your About page, and once again, you can put it up into the Pages folder, get it out of the way for now. You may want to use it sometime in the future, right? But you can take one of the existing 1, 2, 3, 4 column pages, and you can copy it, rename it to About, and I'll show you how to do that. One of the things I kind of do all the time, actually, I'll take the single column page, just preview that as an example. It's a real simple page, 1 column, little picture in the center. This is my starting page for just general content, right? I can take this page, I can copy and paste it like so, I can move it into the root folder like so, I can update it just like so, and then I can About -us. I can rename it to About Us, and that's going to be my About Us page. So that gives you a bit of an idea. You run through all the pages, take a look at them all, compare them to your storyboard, see which pages you think you're going to be using, then you can start to move them around, rename them, because as you saw, I could take a page, copy, paste it, rename it. Very flexible in that regard. And that gives me a bit of a starting place. Once I have my storyboard and a pretty good idea of what pages I'm going to be using, I want to update what I call the global elements. Let me just preview a page here. A global element is anything that's used on more than one page. The logo, the social icons, menu bars, off-canvas menu, all the content in the footer. These are all shared assets in Dreamweaver. We load them in through an include page that's in the library folder. If you've worked with our templates before, this is all old hat. But when you open up the library, we have three types of shared components. We have the components themselves, which would be carousels, sliders, FAQs, accordions, anything that goes inside the pages in the content area, you'll find in here. The shared folder, that contains your website name, your tagline, your social icons, a phone number, your menu bars, Google search, your footer, your copyright, anything that's used at the top or the bottom of the page is in the shared folder. And the sliders, that's for any sliders that you would have. And the Bootstrap Slider is the default slider we're using in the Adama template. So this is where you would find the elements for this. And one of the reasons why we use shared assets is, well, because they're shared, you only have to update them on one location. It's also a lot simpler to open up a shared asset. Let me just go in here. I open up the website name. I scrub over it. I type in Collins site. I hit save to update. And now I can update every single page that uses that particular library asset in seconds versus going through every page individually and having to update it in the code. So I start with a website name. I update it, and then I have a page already open in a browser here. What I do is I just go back to the page, I just hit refresh, and look, Collins site, it's already updated, just like that, done. And now I can fine tune things, and this is where I may go in and get more advanced. If there was a very long website name that takes up a lot of room, I may want to go change the font size. I'm not going to cover that right now, but that's just part of the process. And next I'll move to the social icons if I know what they are. Right, I'll open up the social icons, I'll open up the phone number, and basically I go through all of these things right away, except for the menu items, right? Unless I've already created my pages, like as you saw before, I created my About Us page. So if you've already gone and done that, and if you can do that ahead of time before you get to this process, that's great, because then you can go right into the menu top, menu side, or the footer, that have links to different pages in your site like home, contact, about, and you can go and update those links right now. But in a nutshell, I like to go in and get as much of these shared assets updated as possible, just so I can see some progress. Right, so that'd be the logo shared. If I have the pages created, I'll update the menus and the off-canvas menu, and I'll update the links down here. Now the next thing I like to do when starting on my home page, okay, is the slider. That's one of the first things I like to get done and out of the way, because that really, for the home page, the slider at the top or the video or whatever you're using happens to be the thing that really draws your visitors in. So this is where I'm going to go. Now the slider, think of it as a big marketing tool. It can be general purpose images like we have here, sort of somebody writing on a piece of paper, but it could be an upcoming event. It could be a new product for sale. It could be a picture of your staff. It could be a lot of different things. And you have the ability to tell that story with an image. You can replace the image. You can update the header, the title here, the heading title, the description, and the button as well. And to do this, we're using the Bootstrap Slider for the index page. So we're going to go back to our library, back to our sliders, open up the Bootstrap Slider page. I'm just going to close down everything else while we're here. And the Bootstrap Slider.lbi, this is the default slider that we're going to be updating. Now, as soon as you open it up, you see there's big images, right? So it's going to start off with the first, that's your image. You can replace the image simply by double-clicking on it and browsing to a new image in your site. And I have videos that go through this in much more detail, but in a nutshell, if you have a slider, it will have an images folder. In the images folder, that's where they are, and the images we use for the Bootstrap sliders are full HD. They're 1920 by 1080p, or sorry, by 1080 pixels, which is the same relative size as a full HD video. So 1920 by 1080 put your images into the images folder for the Bootstrap Slider. Then when you go to change them, all you have to do is double click on an image. It will automatically go to the folder where the image is being loaded in from. You can select your new image like so, just select, hit OK, and boom, automatically changes in the page. There's the new picture right there. Okay, after the image comes the title. So let me just close that. I don't want to save that right now. I'm going to open it back up. Okay, so after the picture we have the title, we have the description, and then the click for details. That is the text and the hyperlink used for the button. So you can just go through and change the title, the description. If you want to link to a page, which really what it's designed to do, right? You can click for details, or you can just simply select the button and delete it. You just select the hyperlink text and delete it from the page. Then you move on to change the next picture, title, and description. And that's the Bootstrap Slider in a nutshell. I get that updated. I change the headings. I change the description. I link to whatever pages I want to link it to. Now I move on to the fun part of the index page, and that is determining which pieces I want to keep. Now, we have put everything into what we call section tags, so you can quickly remove things that you know you're not going to be using. This portfolio piece right here with all your images. Now that's cool. It's something we put in there as a sort of an eye catcher. It's something a lot of people probably won't be using. So what we're going to do, and yes, you can put it into another page if you want to use it in another page. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the portfolio section, and this is a really cool thing down here, but I may not be using it, so I'm going to remove this services and support section as well. So I'm going to open up, close this down now, open up my index page in preparation for clearing out the content. Okay, so I'm going to open it up. When I'm working in a page like in Dreamweaver, what I like to do is, first of all, give myself as much room as possible, and I do not like the visual aids myself. You may like them, I don't. Typically when I'm editing a page, I'm going to show you what I do, is I'm going to go to View, and first of all, the Design View Options, Visual Aids, I hide them all. I don't need all the things around showing me where the table borders are and that sort of a thing. That tidies it up a little bit. When I go to edit the content, quick and dirty, I might just leave it in this mode here. As I'm rewriting the entire page, what I'll actually do is I'll go to the Design View Options again, Style Rendering. I don't want to display the styles. Okay, it makes the page a lot longer, but as we get down to the actual text in the page, it makes it a lot easier. And this is where having the page open in a browser really helps. Right? You can go here and go, okay, I want to start editing the very first piece, which starts with Adama Creative Web Template. And then in Dreamweaver, oh, Adama Creative Web Template. Now this is where it's almost identical to working with a WordPress site. If you've ever worked with one, you get a content window, there's your content. The content is styled completely different in the page when you look at it versus what you're actually seeing in the editing window. Right? In the editing window in WordPress, all you get are just simple text. All the styling comes through the theme, which is essentially what we're doing, is we're just turning off the styles where we're editing. It just makes it easier. That's just me. You can do whatever you want. But I'm going to turn display styles back on, because when I'm removing sections, I want to get the section here, and I talked about removing the portfolio sort of template packages section here. And to remove a section, it's really a piece of cake. You find the piece of text where that section is, that's in that section, template packages, for example. I'm going to start just by selecting the first piece of text that's in there. And then I'm going to use my quick tag selector down here. And what I'm looking for is I'm going to start at the very right and work my way all the way over until I find the section tag right here. As you hover over it, it's going to say section, then it'll have certain classes applied to it. So you just click it. You see how it highlights in yellow on the page like that? That entire section? Right. And now I just delete it, just like so. Then I get down to my testimonial thing, and this is where you see, when you see these weird blue images here, this is a shortcut to a component that is in the library and the components folder. So instead of you having to dig through all the different folders and opening up the bstestimonials.lbi, you can actually do a little bit of a right click here and open library item. And it opens up the BS Testimonials LBI. You can change the text right here. You can save it, close it down, and that will update the component HTML code in your page directly. Okay? It's kind of a cool feature, right? After that, we get down, and I mentioned I also wanted to remove the services section. Well, okay. So I can either, now this services section, this is one of those things where it's got a really unique sort of layout, and my advice is try to, when you see things that have sort of equal height, like content that's like 5-6 lines, if you can keep it close to the same or the same for each, it'll have a nice uniform look. So you could go 10 lines. If you're going to go 10 lines, try and go 10 lines for each. If you had 20 lines in this particular section over here and 2 over here, it's going to look unbalanced. So that's just me as a designer. If you can try and keep your content and these little things kind of balanced, it'll just look better. But for editing this sort of thing, like I said, you can do it in the actual design window here. For me, I would definitely go into the view, design view options, style rendering. I would turn the styles right off. And then I just scroll down. Oh, there's my service and support. There's all the different bits and pieces. Quality documentation. There's the second heading. There's the third thing. All right. And it just makes it so much easier to actually update the content. Anyways, I'll turn it back on for this last bit. But if you don't want this service support section, just find the service support tag. Start over here, work your way over until you find section. Oh, there it is there. Click it. It's gonna wrap that section in some sort of a highlight. CC 2018, I think, does yellow. You may have a blue color or something else, but once you can see that the section is selected and it's highlighted, you just press delete and save, and then we go back to our page and we refresh it. Now we see what it looks like. Oh, okay. So, oh, cool. Look, we got rid of the bits and pieces we didn't need. It took all of 3 seconds. 3.5 if you're counting. And now we have just the content sections and the content I want to work with. So then I would go back in and update that right there. So that's it, sort of in a nutshell, of some of the things I do in starting to build a website, as well as preparing myself to work with certain pages, specifically the home page.